listening to the Small Business Show. I'm your host, Swire. My guest today is Rebecca Binny, co-founder of RayCo Media. Rebecca founded RayCo Media in 2021 as a result of her 20 years of experience in mass communication combined with her passion for Web 3.0 technology. Today, Rebecca's work with RayCo Media has helped domestic violent nonprofit raise funds through cryptocurrency, NFTs, and Web 3.0 platform. Rebecca is a recipient of a Business Elite 40 Under 40 Award for 2022 and PRNEWS Top Women in the PR Industry Innovator Award for 2022. How you doing, Rebecca?
I'm doing good, better now. Thank you.
So that's an impressive resume, and I would love to dig deeper into our topics today. But before that, I'd love to find out more about your journey for co-creating RayCo Media. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I think we were very inspired because there wasn't a real niche for small businesses or entrepreneurs or nonprofits. A lot of people major in marketing or PR or some aspect of communications, but really to find a full service agency that could take you into the Web3 or even just grow, in traditional media. That's not something that you come across for small businesses every day. So that was sort of the inspiration behind RayCo Media.
Okay. I want to jump into this question. I think all of us, myself included, wanted to learn more about is PR for small businesses. I thought that PR is only for big corporation where they have a product launch or wanted to, be on feature on the Forbes magazine, for example. So how does PR works in the small business side?
So it's very different now in 2022 as opposed to what it was, when I first started like 2 decades ago. It's no longer just for large businesses. Small businesses can get into Forbes and, all the top publications. Entrepreneurs can get featured without having to dump hundreds of thousands of dollars into a PR agency. And in actual fact, PR is the one sure way to get small businesses the recognition that you need in order to grow and sustain in such a competitive society. So PR really is, it's a way of getting the word out there without paying high advertising costs or spending a lot of money on ads or commercials.
Would you be able to share a couple of examples? I could share one, but I'll let you speak first.
There are actually quite a lot. A lot of our clients are really entrepreneurs at heart. And through our PR efforts, the businesses grow. And so they're no longer just a small startup. We have clients in the crypto industry. My Digital Money is one of them who, they're a CryptoIRA, and they've been featured in Authority Magazine. They've been featured in different publications and even on podcasts and different television interviews. Noble Gold Investments is another one. They're really strong in their PR efforts. They're constantly in the media and now also quoted on Forbes. And then we have the nonprofits who I think need PR more than ever because people need to know about philanthropic causes or what their focus is on.
Yeah, for my example, if I could share, we all have an expertise. We are all good at what we do in our respective industry. So think about what Rebecca just talked about. So you can actually find podcasts that are related to your expertise. People actually are dying to learn more about something that you do day to day. And if you are going on to the podcast and not to selling them and to sell your product and services, and just think about how you can give back something that you do daily. People actually spend months or years trying to learn more about that, but you're willing to share on different podcasts. So what that does in a PR standpoint, if you agree with me, is to position yourself as the expert of an industry. So for all of us in small business, we like to follow experts, be it on Instagram, be on LinkedIn. So we like to follow experts to see what they're doing. And the expert that we follow can actually influence our buying decisions.
Yeah, I think from the PR perspective, the podcasts these days are very important. They've really become a really good way of positioning yourself as a thought leader in your industry. So again, like you said, it's not just mere selling. It's really helping the public understand what your expertise is and what you do. And from there, either helping other businesses, other entrepreneurs, or providing solutions to what a lot of people are looking for. So definitely.
Another question I do want to find out is, traditionally when you're trying to pitch, right, the Forbes magazine or your local newspaper, you got to have a newsworthy material or article, right, to pitch them. So as a small business to start, what would you suggest that we come up with something that is, I want to use the word juicy enough, so for people to actually pick up the story or continue the conversation with us?
I think that the angle is always important. It has to be timely. It has to be, it cannot be something that happened 2 months ago. So definitely something that you're about to do or something that you're about to launch is always a great piece of information to pitch to the media. But besides that, there also can be different angles, such as your own thoughts. For example, if you read something that's happening in current affairs and you have a strong opinion, that you're sort of the expert in the field, there are a lot of journalists who actually want to hear those thoughts. And that's how you get quoted in various publications throughout the months, because you don't always have that newsworthy angle. So you got to get a little bit creative and innovative and use your expertise to benefit the readers of that publication you're trying to reach out to as well. So
Yeah, I think you bring out a good point. You don't have to come up with new material. You can actually respond to an article. For example, give you an example I just learned this morning. Fast magazine actually come up with an article. Conferences are back, but let us have the cheap swag die down already. So this is
right.
actually a article that was written about, we don't want any cheap stuff anymore. However, a promotional product company, Common Skill, actually have addressed, and they made a podcast about that for the response, to see why, this is not the case. And this created a good PR for them. So not only people are reading the fast magazines, and they're also going to Common Skill platform. So you actually create more discussion, and in returns, generate the, I would say, almost as free PR publicity for your company.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do. PR agencies do for a lot of clients is we generate opinion pieces where you react to something that has been published, and you basically state your own opinion. And that's a very strong way, if drafted well, it's a very strong way of showing really your area of expertise, or being the market leader, for example, in swag or in some other industry. So that's definitely, opinion pieces is a good way to go.
So you would suggest small business owners to monitor the trends or the keywords that surround their company, and if there's any news or article comes up with that, they do want it to create a response, based on those articles.
Oh, definitely. I think that is a more surefire way of getting yourself coverage than trying to pitch yourself. You need the expertise to draft the press releases, to find the angle, and then you need the database to pitch your angle, which is a lot of work. And that's why PR agencies typically charge so much. And it used to be only for big businesses. But now, if you're a small business and you can't afford that sort of money, you really want to look out for the industry trends and see where you can sort of, give your input, even if it's just a little opinion piece or a little comment on social media, but sort of done in a professional way to show your experience and your expertise. I think that's one of the sure ways to go for PR.
What about addressing comments? And because on the internet, especially on social media, people really do say whatever that comes to mind. Should we address all of it, or how would you handle a PR uptick? I would say, do you respond all of it, or do you only respond to the good ones?
That's very interesting. I think a lot of people jump really quickly when they see a comment, like, I gotta attack every single one, I gotta defend myself, which is not true. I think you pick, right? You don't always have to pick the good ones. Sometimes you pick the bad ones if you can sort of turn the situation around. But just be careful that when you do that, you have to be so careful what you say, because once it's in black and white, it's all over the internet. And if it goes viral, chances are you might lose a lot of your points for reputation in the industry. So we're very careful with how we do that. We really choose and pick what we respond to and what is important enough to spend our time on. You really don't want to respond to everybody. And if you don't want to get into petty arguments either, right? On social media, I mean, everybody's doing that. So we avoid those at all costs.
Yeah, my suggestion is, type up your response, maybe not on the actual platform, maybe on a Word document, not related to that, and sit on it for, good 10 minutes, I would say. If you, after 10 minutes, if you still want to send it, because the last
Yeah.
thing you want to do is send a comment. You might or might not be able to delete that.
And then make sure you do a spell check, That's so important. It really shows greatly on, your level of professionalism if you have like errors and stuff like that. So definitely check it.
Okay, so wanted to move on, with your background in marketing and PR, you know, and touching on Web3 now. So is it different than what we just talked about in the traditional 2.0 kind of sense? Or how do you see, marketing and PR will be in the future in Web3?
Um, it is different. It is really hyped up. It's a hyped up version of Web 2.0. It's, between Web 3 and the Metaverse, it's almost like your social media channels, but really amplified. A lot of noise, a lot of, real reality, like augmented reality versions of social media, where it's now no longer just a flat computer screen, right? So that's the point of Web3, is to shift the experience to become immersive. And that's really good for branding purposes, in my view. I think that brands that go into the metaverse can garner a very high sense of customer loyalty if done right. But it's not for everybody. It's not everybody can benefit from the metaverse. Not everybody can benefit from Web3, and it's really new. So I think everybody should really be careful before you just dive into it and think that it's going to be another social media story.
Can you offer a good and bad example?
Well, the first few brands that tried to start in Web3 or the metaverse, they were doing the NFTs, for instance, has taken on a different reputation than what they're actually used for. NFTs are really about smart contracts, right? They're not just another purse or pair of shoes or, like a JPEG, which everybody seems to think like a really overpriced JPEG. I mean, collectors are coming in as if they're buying handbags and designer shoes, but NFTs really serve a different purpose. Is they can govern a lot more through smart contracts, and since it's on the blockchain, it's transparent, it's secure. There are different uses for it. So like that would be one of the examples where I think we've jumped off the bandwagon and just started buying NFTs for the fun of it, when really the real purpose of NFTs is so much more than just collecting. But then there are also very good uses, right? Like, Gucci launched in Roblox long time ago. This was early on before the metaverse really kicked off, and they did the collectibles where all the kids were buying the hats and the shoes. And, even I went in and I was like, I'm going to try to buy one of these hats. But what it did was it actually garnered a very high brand identity for Gucci, right? One of the first, for example. They were stylish, and, the result of it could be an increase in sales and branding and loyalty, like we said. As opposed to just let's just sell NFTs. So there are good uses for it. We're taking one of the nonprofits we work with into the metaverse so that they can provide services and reach a larger audience when physically sometimes you cannot. So that's the other benefit of Web3, right? It's so far away that we no longer have to take airplanes and try to travel, or people don't have to come to a shelter, for example, to get help, and they can just use their phones or tap into the metaverse and seek help that way.
Can you tell us more about that for the nonprofit example using, NFTs?
So what we actually represent, Unsilenced Voices, is a domestic violence nonprofit. They started, in Africa. They're very strong in Africa, and now they're here in the United States. And we've partnered with them basically to launch a collection of NFTs that are designed by the domestic violence survivors in Africa. So what that does is, first of all, art therapy is crucial to some of their survivor skills and to helping them heal. And then second of all, in Africa, you can never imagine to make that amount of money that you can through an NFT sale. So by creating NFTs of their artwork and giving them the percentage of the sales, they can actually also, improve their living standards, the condition, the lifestyles that they have there, and help them escape domestic violence and thrive after that instead of, still trying to find ways to make income. So that would be like a really good case scenario, for use of NFTs.
That's really interesting, and thanks for sharing. I think to me, Web3 is something that still has no rules, so that you can actually go on both sides. It could be really creative and really good, or it could sometimes be really bad, right? So
Yes.
it really depends on the creativities for the creator, right? What I've been seeing that I really like is the NBA, which they have their the NBA cards right now. Before it was static, you just collect it,
Right.
and then you use it. Now they can actually have a clip of that player doing dunk, layup, whatever that they do best. So it is your unique NFT that you can purchase. Another way that I wanted to say, the team who's doing Snoop Dogg's PRs are doing a wonderful job.
They
If
are.
you go there, you see Snoop Dogg everywhere. He's in the cookbook. He is in the skin in Call of Duty. He has his own wine. He's just everywhere. So imagine that his team are able to pitch, an icon to different product placement, to different, media. So they actually want something that's unique. And, the PR team from Snoop Dogg is actually feeding them what they need.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. They're doing a great job. But then there are two takeaways to this, right? So one is you definitely need a good team, especially if you're a small business and you want to enter Web3 and the metaverse and NFTs. You want to make sure you work with people who know what they're doing and not try to just throw money into something that, that you have no clue about. But the second point is, Snoop Dogg has a lot more money than a lot of entrepreneurs. And it's easy for the PR company to, put him all over the place. So what do you do when you're a startup and you need to, get branded in the metaverse or Web3 in order to compete with all these other brands, and you don't have that kind of capital? So that's I think that's where strategy comes into play. And it's really important that you're not just, let's just do whatever Snoop Dogg's doing, because, you'll probably end up taking a lot of loans and going broke. So, strategy is definitely important for entering Web3.
Yeah, let's go deeper with that. With the NBA example, I'm thinking about if I could pull this off, I can actually contact my construction or mining company. Have all your mining trucks, all your cement mixer into NFTs, and do a short video or the cement mixer in action.
Mm-hmm.
People will actually buy that if you market it properly. So if I'm a brand, how should I evaluate and to see if my brand is fitted for the metaverse?
I think that whatever strategy you take, especially with Web3 and the metaverse, is that it has to align with your vision and your goals. At the end of the day, your business is your little baby, what you're passionate about. And every entrepreneur has their own set of goals and expectations and, really where they want to go. So if what the Web3 and the metaverse can offer you is not what is aligned with your company's goals, then don't do it. It really needs to be able to serve the bottom line. There's no point if you put all your money into the metaverse and you're stuck in a corner of Decentraland, and nobody has any idea what you're doing. I mean, that's really, defeats the purpose.
So maybe I think the question to ask is both for the Web3 and even doing the traditional PR sense. When would you suggest a small business to do it themselves, and when would you suggest that they go out and hire quality help?
Honestly, I'm an entrepreneur myself. I've been in a small business, started small businesses for the last 20 years. The problem I see is that most entrepreneurs start thinking in the beginning that they can always do it themselves, right? We all think, oh, it's so easy to get the coverage. I can just call a journalist. It's easy to market myself. And the problem is that it's not. It's not as easy as we all look at it and think it is. And chances are you risk the reputation in the early stages, and it's very hard. It's harder to recuperate than it is to build the right way. So that's something, even if you're not ready for it, it's good to have the conversations with the experts in the industry and find out if PR or marketing services are right for you, or what kind of marketing services do you really need. Some entrepreneurs need branding. Some of them just need social media. Some of them need SEO. Some of them need to be pitched for awards and for, coverage in publications. So it really depends, again, on your company goals and what you're trying to achieve. And speaking to the experts always help.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. As an entrepreneur, we think we're invincible. We're the best at everything that we touch. To a certain extent, yes, obviously you're good at what you do in your line of business. You're probably the top person to handle those jobs, but doesn't mean that you can do your own bookkeeping. You can do
Right.
your own shipping on packaging, and certainly in PR and marketing, that's true. So yeah, I do understand what you're saying, because we think that, just post something about my business and, get people to like and share, and that's it. That will be the entire strategy.
Right. That's the biggest problem. And a lot of times we try to save money, but it's like, penny wise, pound foolish. You're saving money, but all your time is getting poured into something that you're just not good at. And it's okay to admit that I'm not the best at bookkeeping. I don't even do my own bookkeeping. So till today, I don't. And I don't intend to, but my time is better delegated somewhere else.
Okay. So from working in Web3 and PR, and obviously COVID has changed the way that we communicate, as an expert, what type of technology do you suggest that we look out for?
Honestly, if the metaverse expanded in collaboration in the workplace earlier, then a lot of people won't feel so isolated during COVID, right? Because everybody started working from home and it was this Zoom fatigue, and there's no way of really interacting with coworkers. So trends like the metaverse, I think, where it's more collaborative and immersive workspaces is something that will really help a lot. Especially we learned from COVID, it's hard and not many people still want to travel. How do we breach the distance between potential customers, for example, without getting on an airplane? I think the collaborative workspace is one trend that will come up. And then more branding experiences, right? Instead of going to an actual shopping mall, you go into a metaverse retail store. That's where the brands come in and they really provide an immersive experience for customers to really feel what they're about, to share their values, and then to try on the merchandise and hopefully generate sales from that. So those two are, I think, some of the biggest trends. And of course, there are others. It's social media with interactive experiences, being able to date in almost real life augmented reality, or stuff like that, where you can almost reach out and touch as opposed to just like now on the screen. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think especially for the experiment part, you might not be actually there, but then it's good enough. It's almost 80%, so you can actually see the environment. You could see all the information where when you're at the site, you might not be able to learn all the information, all the background stories about a certain location. And if you're smart, like you mentioned, Roblox, a lot of games right now are, having advertisers actually
Right.
selectively, secretly, maybe the shoes that the character wear, maybe the backdrop or the shops that they go into. These are all branded products, and also the cars that they drive. And actually, there are a lot more opportunities out there, and so yeah, definitely, this is something that to look into to it. What if we are interested to find out more? Are there any good websites, podcasts, or places that you suggest us to go to?
I mean, there are a lot of websites that are starting up. I would probably say that the conferences or the online seminars about Web3 and even the local networking sessions are a lot more informative, where you can actually hear people in the industry discuss their plans or what they're building, as opposed to visiting websites at this point. It's really, the interaction gives you a lot more information. We are launching a podcast too, and part of it does include Web3. So that will come in a few weeks. And, that would be an interesting one to look out for. And that will be published on our social media channels. So that's where you can stay tuned for more information about that. But, I think definitely talking to people is probably the best way to go. There are a lot of leaders from all the top companies now who are constantly giving these the talks online, virtual seminars, which are very informative. Those are very interesting, and they're advertised all over Facebook or LinkedIn or social media.
Yeah, I want to ask you this question, Rebecca. Supposedly a small business approach you to want help, right, to increase their marketing and PR. What type of questions would you ask them, and what sort of information would you suggest that they brainstorm and bring it to you so you can do your job more effectively?
So RayCo has quite an extensive onboarding process. Even before we take clients in, we have quite a long questionnaire where we really try to find out what the intentions of the clients are. You know, where are they expecting to head, not just this year, but in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. What is their plan? Who their target market is? How the founders themselves intend to be involved. There are a lot of founders who just don't have a hands-on approach, which might not be the best idea depending on the type of business. It's always good to brand yourself because that way people trust you. So that's always something that we look out for. And also, you know, what the resources are, right? I won't put together a plan where there's just not enough resources to get to your goals. So that's definitely important to know upfront before we start.
What if I come to you and say we want to target everyone? How would you guide me to focus?
Well, first of all, what product do you have and what problem does it solve? You can never solve everybody's problems unless you're ice cream.
Well, if you're, a lot of times when I talk to, my client, where they could be in the restaurant industry or they could be, any type of software platform, right? They say, we could really help everyone. Everyone's got to eat, and even if a shoe manufacturer, everyone need to wear shoes. But my question to ask back, if they ask me that question, is how would you narrow down to your target audience, and how and which type of client will actually spend the most money with you? And in my case, to pay full price of what you're asking, because a lot of time, think about each of our own experience. If you are in any type of commodity space, people like to ask for discount, they like to price shop, but there are type of client that only wants to work with you and pay the full price that you are quoting them. So then my question to help them narrow down will be, who are these people? What are their job titles, industry? And then where do we find them? So these are some of the questions that I would ask them to help them narrow down the search, because I would tell you now there are more than a few that wants to target everyone's every day.
Oh yeah, everybody wants to target everybody, but the problem is that I've seen is that actually most business owners don't know who the primary target is, right? Even if you ask these questions, unless you have market research to support your claims, and that's part of what we do, is we actually conduct the research. We're very aware of who we're targeting and we're very focused. But a lot of business owners don't have that research. I'm sure, like you said, everybody wants to eat or wear shoes, but really, how do you know that this appeals to this market or that, so that really, you need the data to try to back that up. And a lot of business owners, like I said, they really don't know. So even when you ask these questions, I kind of feel like it boils down to what some of the trends are, where you're located, for example. If you're selling Chinese food and you're in the middle of a specific town, the population might never support it, whether you think it will or not. On the other hand, if you're selling a pair of pink shoes and you want to reach boys, maybe that might not work either. How do you? And most people just don't have the research to back it up. So it's definitely important to do, surveys or research and really see what competitors are doing, especially like who your direct competitors are, and then see who their target market is and how they're reaching them before you really determine what the primary market is for your brand.
Yeah, that's a lot of a good point in there. So you would really suggest that they want, the best ideal people for campaigns like that is, company that's willing to learn more, right? People like to explore and to accept that, obviously there are things that they don't know about that is out there that can help them or hurt them. So, by
Yeah.
creating and conducting those research, that we're going to help them to make that decision or where to put their resource.
Yeah, but I think entrepreneurship itself is a learning curve, right? Nobody starts a company and says, I know it all. I'm gonna just hit the ground running and I'm gonna be 100% successful. I think it's, even for us, we constantly have to learn the newest trends and technology. And one of our strengths is we try to merge that with marketing and PR, like traditional communication. So as an entrepreneur, I always advise that you continue to grow and learn. Even if you're so confident about your brand, I think that you really need to just have an open mind and sort of soak up, what competitors, what the industry is doing, what the trends are, and then really listen to the customers so that you can tailor and find your niche, because mass marketing is just not working anymore for a lot of people. And that's why commercials are not as effective sometimes,
Yeah,
so.
that's
Mhm.
very true. So, Rebecca, for listener who have individual questions that want to reach out to you, what would be the best way?
I'm always on social media. I think it's, my LinkedIn. You have me tagged, so that's always a good way. Just send me a message. But we're also on RayCoMedia.net for more information, and there's a contact email there as well.
Rebecca, thank you so much for jumping on today. I learned a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Bye.